You're listening to the Cars of Carlisle Network, podcast episode 69, the Corvettes at Carlisle post show.
Cars of Carlisle is your favorite internationally downloaded podcast about all things automotive. Darren and his CFC team are ever searching for interesting automotive happenings, real stories about real car people, and fun features to inform and entertain you. Each week, the Cars of Carlisle crew brings you show topics ranging from car shows to team adventures to auto racing weekends to behind-the-scenes human interest stories from car nuts that live across town, across the country, or even across the globe. Come join the road trip.
Today, hear all that happened at the Carlisle Fairgrounds with nearly 3,000 Corvettes on site. The Cars of Carlisle team spent this past weekend at the Corvettes at Carlisle show, exploring all the fun from the world's largest Corvette gathering. Get the scoop on a 1967 barn find, learn about the media unveiling of the 8th generation Vette, and listen to the sweet V8 music from the autocross competition. It's time to place your Vettes. So let's get revved up.
Hello, Cubers, and welcome back to your favorite informative automotive podcast. I am your trusted host, Darren, and this is the Corvettes at Carlisle post show. With me in the passenger seat is Scott.
Hey, everybody.
And we had a blast. We were at the Corvette show Friday morning at 7 a.m. for the media unveiling of the C8, which was an honor and a great opportunity. And then again throughout the day, and then back on Saturday for most of the day.
And what a spoiled way to see it, because it was just limited amount of people, and we actually got to be right up front with all of the cars. I guess they had
crawl
probably
inside them and everything else.
11 of them or something like that there.
Yeah, we counted 11 on property, which was pretty
great.
phenomenal. Yeah.
It was great.
And completely, for those that haven't seen it, we had the chance, of course, to walk around it, look under the hood, and just get up and close and personal, get into the driver's seat, the whole 9 yards, feel the paddle shifters, you name it. These were pre-production models, but the fit and finish, the feel of it, it has a very Euro, Ferrari, Lambo, McLaren feel to it. It's incredible. I think this is a world-class vehicle.
And the colors and the combination really sharp.
Yeah, that rapid blue is pretty significant. Mm-hmm. It's like a hyper blue that you would see on a Lamborghini.
Well, and even all of the seat belting and the different accents of leather inside.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of customization.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and they did, Team Chevrolet pulled out all the stops. At the Carlisle Fairgrounds, they set up a temporary building that was 2.5 stories, all glass, very modern.
It looked more permanent than my house. It was
it
that
was pretty
nice.
Significant. Yeah, they did an amazing job on that. So we had a great time. In this episode, you're going to hear from husband-wife Corvette owner. Also talk to the owner of a 1967 barn find. Some great tidbits. We were dividing and conquering throughout the day. I was doing an interview. Scott was down at the autocross track. We'll throw in a little bit of ear candy with a big block that was hitting the autocross track. But listen in and enjoy. And if you haven't been to Corvettes at Carlisle, you definitely have to make it for 2020. A big thank you to Lance Miller and Jody Morrison and the entire Carlisle events team for just putting on another great event.
And it's such a camaraderie with the Corvette show, especially.
Mm-hmm.
It's everybody recognizes everybody, and it's just
right.
It's a super time.
It was a lot of fun to have my C6 on grounds and just on the fun field and to be right in the thick of it all.
Yeah, that was the first time for you.
Yeah,
actually
to drive through the gates and be a participant. So
that was wonderful. You thought about that forever. So
yeah,
it's kind of a lot of fun. True,
nice. For sure. Well, let's do this week's trivia question. This one is a little odd. I'll admit that. It's a two-parter, and that is, what are 2 features of the new C8 Corvette that I really have never been in any of the other 7 generations? So let's do a physical feature and an electronic feature. And I'll pick 2, and we'll talk about those at the end of the show. So let's get into the first interview. Hello, Cubers. This is Darren, and I am just outside Building Z, which you may know is the grandstand. It's a beautiful day here in Carlisle at Corvettes of Carlisle. About 2,800 Corvettes on 83 acres. And just as coming through that tunnel of Building Z, I happened to meet Willie and Al Bird, and they are from Macungie, Pennsylvania. Welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be here again.
We are very
This is our
glad to be
fourth
here.
year coming.
How many years have you been coming?
This is our fourth year coming.
Fourth year, okay, I'm
We
sorry.
bought our car in 2015.
Yeah, tell us about that. I mean, you have a
It was a-
LT1 Stingray, right?
Stingray. It's a black one. It's basically a plain steel Stingray, 7 manual transmission, hard car to find. Looked all over the country to find it.
Yep.
Great car. It's my retirement present.
Well,
Started out as a motorhome.
Wait a minute, though. I think I heard Willie is on the registration, though, right?
Right.
Willie, do you let him drive it? If he's...
Yeah, I let him drive it periodically. I let him, because I love to see, get the feel of a woman, in the driver's seat. Let him drive me around. That's why I let him drive it.
I know.
He lets me clean it too. This is the second week I had to
That's
clean.
your privilege,
I had
Al.
to clean it last week for a show. We went to the Corvette reunion in Flint, Michigan last weekend, and this weekend we're in Carlisle.
Well, tell us a
two in a row.
Tell us about how you were telling me before we went on air that it's at the old original GM building. I thought that was fascinating.
We were in the front of the GM was formed in Flint, Michigan, not Detroit. People don't know that.
Right.
By a guy named Durant.
It was one of the wealthiest cities in the world.
Yes,
at the
it
time.
was at one time. Mott, Whiting, they pulled all the people together and formed all the General Motors of companies like Buick, and they were all Chevrolet, all those people. The cool thing about it, a lot of people don't understand that Chevrolet, it was a man's name. It's something, they didn't make that up.
Louis Chevrolet.
People think they made these names up.
No.
He was a real name.
Just like DeSoto and everyone.
And I didn't realize, too, I just learned Buick, I thought that was made up, too. It was David Buick. It was the Chrysler, Ford. Everybody knows about Ford. The Dodge brothers.
Yep.
They were all people.
Tucker,
They were
another
real.
one.
They were real people, and they real loved cars.
Yes.
And that's how these cars evolved. But Flint at one time had about 100,000 people working for GM. It was not Detroit. It was Flint, Michigan. Buick was there. AC, Fisher Body, AC, Alex Champion, which AC Spark Plug. He was a real person too. That started in Flint, Michigan. And I started my career in Flint, Michigan with GM, started engineering there about many years ago. And then I ended up extrapolating to different places and moving around the country. But we bought this Corvette. Her dad retired from Chevrolet. And that's kind of a tribute to Flint, Michigan and the people at Chevrolet. That's why we bought it. It has a lot of meaning.
That's beautiful.
More meaning than just going out buying a car.
Right.
It means a lot to us.
Well, that's
it's
important.
a symbol.
For me,
Yes.
my family are General Motors, working class people.
And what did your father do?
And my father, he originally started at Buick Motor Division.
Okay.
This might be in your history books that during the migration in the 50s, we came from Arkansas. My dad used to go to Michigan when they only hired you for like maybe 3 or 4 months at a time. He'll go back home and he'll come every time that they would call him. So eventually my family got on the train and we migrated to Michigan. I'm a family of 5 sisters and 3 brothers. Can you imagine my mom?
Family. Big
My
family.
mom with all these kids on the train, we come into Michigan. So anyway,
bless her.
that is when he was saying I'm heart of Michigan.
Yeah.
It was called Back to the Bricks, and I felt that I was part of that family again.
Yeah.
And it was not just the car show, it was home again, where my heart is.
It was actually called a reunion, the Corvette
Yeah,
reunion.
Corvette reunion.
And it was a birth
Yeah.
race of Corvette. The first Corvette was made in Flint, Michigan in 1953 for all your history books.
To give you a visual of the Corvette reunion, downtown Flint it really changed over through the years, and it has become a college town, Michigan State, and they're making it a college town now. And because during my years of living there, it kind of went down, and now it's coming back up due to all the plant close shutdowns and stuff.
Right.
But anyway, to give you a little visual, it's the whole downtown has these old cobblestone bricks, and all the old fronts are still there. And it was a combination of Corvettes, classic cars, all kinds of different cars.
Yeah,
It was just a beautiful sight.
So the original showrooms, a lot of glass.
Beautiful. And we had the opportunity of talking to the mayor. I had my shirt on. It said, "Flint is okay," and she interviewed me because I had that shirt on because she wanted to say to herself and the people in the city that Flint is okay because of all of the situations that are going on in Flint right now.
Of course, yeah.
But anyway, it was home. It's just like you say. It's more than just cars.
Yes.
It's my family
That's a beautiful
history.
sentiment.
My dad, my brothers, sisters, they all retired from General Motors, and they all worked, for the companies. So
That's quite a legacy.
it's a heart. It's a heart there.
That's really special. Now,
So every time we start that Corvette, it feels like family.
Feel
Well,
like
it's an
home.
extension of the
It's
family.
not just having a car. We've had German cars, BMW, Mercedes, but nothing's been like the Corvette, owning a Corvette. Yeah. It's been just a total different experience. The people you meet.
I understand.
I mean, one of the coolest things that happened to me, I was watching trains one day, and a little boy came by, and the mother said, "Can you just start your car?" Aww. So I said, "I'll start it." He said, "He has autism." And I started the car, and he smiled. And she said, "That was great. Can you come down another day? We're here almost once a week." And so that when I was getting ready to get a new car, I thought about all the people smiled, and I said, I'm going to keep it.
Yeah. We took the family to Las Vegas, and my grandson actually picked out the car we bought. It was a car on showcase there, and he said, "Oh, I love that car. Granddad, can you get that car?" But anyway, when we got home, we started looking at the Corvettes. Lo and behold, we end up with the car that my grandson loved, and he said, "This is all I wanted to do is go to McDonald's and get a Happy Meal." Oh.
That's all he wanted to do. He said, "Just drive me to McDonald's and just pull me up in the Corvette and I'll order a Happy Meal." Can you imagine?
I will be the man.
Imagine that he was only 7 years old.
I like him
when
already.
He said that.
I
he
like
said,
him
if
already.
I can do that, he said, I'll be good.
I have
said,
lived a full life. Yeah.
That's the first Corvette ride. I just want to go to McDonald's and order a Happy Meal in a Corvette.
Yes.
I can say everything.
Yes.
Tell my friends I did that.
Just hang it up. I'm good.
So, but it's had a lot of memories. We're showing, like you say, we've shown the car. A lot of people, have got a lot out of it, and it's just kind of a cool thing to have.
It is.
It's it's not about the car. It's not about you having the car. It's more about what the car can give to everybody.
Yeah.
Like the people in Michigan, they looked at the car. Like some of my friends said, and then this is a cool thing. One of my guys worked with me. He bought a Corvette. So he came over to visit me. He retired, He still works. And we drove up, and we had 2 Corvettes in our driveway. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He had his Corvette, had my Corvette in the driveway, and he called me all the time. He said, "Every time I see your car, it's so clean." I said, "You got to keep it clean.
Yeah.
It's got to look good."
Paint. Yeah.
Huh?
With the black paint job,
it's got to be clean. I mean, and the engine's got to be clean. Before we went to Michigan, I spent probably 3 days getting it ready for Michigan.
Oh, wow.
And pretty much Carlisle. So when I got back, I didn't have to do too much work on it.
Right.
I spent basically 4 or 5 hours on the motor, cleaning the motor.
Wow.
My motor, it's beautiful. I keep it that pristine.
Now, when you use any certain products or anything that you use that?
I use Maguire products.
Okay.
I've kind of been hooked on them. I call it the Lazy Man's Detail. I use the Maguire Detail, and I just clean it all real quick, like when I'm in Michigan.
And Maguire's, if you're listening, I would be glad to talk to you about a sponsorship.
Yeah, I use their product. I actually use
it. Well, see, when we first was looking at the Corvettes, Ellen had done all this research. We knew everything we wanted in the car. The only thing we didn't get was the red
stitching, or
no, the calipers. Oh. So that's the only thing we didn't get. Those. But anyway, we walked in the dealership and they knew they had a sale because we went straight to what we had. And it was sitting right there for us.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I believe that everything that you do is meant to happen,
We talk about that all the time.
There was no accident. That car was sitting there.
I don't think meeting you guys today was an accident either.
No, it wasn't. I was telling Jewel that the guys on the showroom floor could not drive a manual shift. They could not do it.
Well, I believe that.
And because we were going to drive it out of the showroom, he had to go get his boss. And then
that's why he's the boss.
No, they pushed it out.
They pushed it out. But then once they got it out there, they didn't think a woman could drive a standard shift.
Well, they're wrong.
And guess what? There was 4 or 5 of them standing there, and I just burnt rubber out of the
yes,
out of the
fist
parking.
Bump on that.
The joke is, did you test drive the car? I said, no, you don't test drive a Corvette.
No.
I said, you either want it or you don't.
Yeah.
He walked in the door and wanted it. First time we drove it, after we gave him the check and walked out the door. That's the first. And we drove it for about an hour and took it back.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about it, that car's a showroom, and the detail shop is right around. They detailed it every day, and they cried when they left. Said, we've been doing this for 2 months.
No
And
kidding.
so when I come back to get it serviced, they love to hand wash it.
Whoa.
The detail company. Whoa. It's a company, they have the guys in business there. He loves to wash it. So they do a great job because for 2 months they kept that car clean on the showroom floor. So when it walked out the door, they kind of had
a special relationship.
They had the head down.
Yeah,
that's the longest car they've ever had on the showroom floor.
Wow.
And so they every time I go, they really love to have it clean. So I like going there because I pull up and they say, "Oh, Mr. Bird, oh Willie Bird, not Mr. Bird, Willie Bird."
Yeah.
And they go, "Wait, Alan Bird." I say, "Alan Bird, we don't have an Alan Bird owns a Corvette." I said, well, try Willie Bird. Oh, we have Willie Bird owns a Corvette. Yeah. That's how it works.
She's the pretty one.
Anyway.
That's kind of funny.
I bought my first little sports car before I met him, and I didn't know how to drive a stick shift.
What was it?
It was a little Fiat.
Oh, yes.
And anyway, the guys
Yeah,
in the showroom,
Italian
they were
fun.
showing me how to get home.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got home, my dad took me around and around to teach me how to shift. And guess what? I took it out by myself. In the General Motors traffic, I was going like, I was trying
But
to
you learned
learn.
fast that
I
way.
learned fast
Yeah.
that way. And
Yeah.
when they
I
were
still have to
when
teach
they
her.
were getting off of work, that was me.
Uh-huh. You were making yourself...
That was our first sports car.
Yeah.
We had just got married.
And then we
First
started
Wow.
practicing together.
But then we
Yeah.
had stick shifts. We had a
And
BMW
then-
stick.
Yeah.
We never had any automatic cars. You know,
And
so
I
we
was
could
telling
drive.
you,
They're a lot
too,
more
that
fun.
Both of my sons
They
had to
could
learn
drive.
how to drive.
That's
a
all
stick
we
shift.
owned. We had a stick Subaru.
Was
had a
that
stick
Volvo
BMW.
240?
No, it was automatic.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
well,
right.
we had a stick. What did we have? Something I can't remember. We had a Fiat.
Yeah.
We had a Fiat. We had a Fiat and a Volvo.
my.
And we had a Mercedes and a Fiat. Then the Fiat gave up on us. It
Bad.
died on us. So it actually
You know
died.
what? You know what Fiat is an acronym for?
What?
Fix it again, Tony.
Well, I
Oh,
blew,
no.
I blew the time. It was a cool car. It was a mid-engine car like this Corvette. And if you ever never driven a mid-engine car, this car has got to be really fun to drive. The new Corvette, because we owned one for about 4 years. It is so much fun the way it handles, the way it wiggles on the road. It's kind of cool the way it feels.
Oh, yeah.
And then the trunk was in the front. And it had a trunk. We used to travel in it. We stuck our shut in the trunk, and then right behind the engine, it had a compartment you could put
Like
stuff
a
in.
little jump seat.
And the top came out just like a Corvette in
Okay.
that car,
Okay.
in a Fiat X19.
Like a Targa.
It was a Targa top. And you put it in the trunk and you just rode around. One day, the worst thing ever happened, my son and I watched it one day. We lived out in Iowa, worked for John Deere. We rode down the road, had took top. Guess what happened? We're driving down the road. It got worse than that. A guy was newer spreader
No.
in front of us.
No.
Oh, yes. Me and my son are driving down the road. That's the worst thing ever happened, boy. Oh, my gosh.
I want to say no crap to that story, but there is crap to that.
That was the worst thing ever happened in a car that you could think can happen. Getting that off.
That sounds over the top nasty.
That happened to us.
That
driving
was real.
car in Iowa.
That was real.
And that's what can happen to you in Iowa. in a
Thank
car.
you, Hawkeye State. Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have my Corvette in Iowa. Can you
No.
imagine driving down the road?
Just go right around that
Right
state.
Oh my God. He's straddling the road. I can't pass him. So he's just throwing this stuff out. It's still droplings are coming out and coming up on the car. That stuff is hard to get off.
Yeah, I believe it.
Believe me. That was my son go, oh my gosh. He go, oh. Okay. That was probably the worst experience I ever had
That's a
in a sports
job
car.
you don't want to do. Not at all.
But we look forward to Carlisle. Everybody gets
Yeah.
excited, even though we just came back
Very
from the
excited.
reunion. Excited to come here. And like I say, I'm in a social media group we call Mad Vets American Dream.
Yeah, if you'll email me.
And we do a lot of communication. Some of our guys and gals are here this weekend, so we get together with them and we talk every day, send stuff. We got about 9,000 people.
Wow.
All over the world.
Can you help me get
Oh,
piped
we
in?
Yeah.
Have you gone to the Corvette Museum
In Bowling Green?
Bowling
in
Green.
Bowling Green?
Just
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, we
I'll
enjoyed
get
that
you
too.
piped into that because
Yeah.
it's very good. It's very
beautiful.
cool. They send cool stuff out.
Yeah, I'd love
The
that.
other day, they almost climbed on me. My guy that sold my car, he ended up getting a black ZR1 for a customer, a cash customer. And I put it out there, and there were 50 people who wanted to buy it at any price.
Wow.
He was able to get it from another dealer. He can order him more 2019. He got a dealer trade. He had a cash customer.
People are scrambling to get the
But
last
this is a guy
C7s.
ready to give him the cash money.
Yeah.
And he got the car from the other dealer and he sold it. I said, you got it for sale? No, I already sold it. All his 2019 sold. I understand all the new C8s are sold out.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
The dealership in Michigan, he's got 23. He said all 23 are spoken for already.
Did you get a chance to sit in any of these?
No, we haven't
Not
done it
yet.
yet.
Okay.
But
We're
we
going in
did
now.
go
It's
see
worth it. It's
how
worth it.
go through the plant. Did you go through the plant to see how it's made?
did not know
Oh,
that.
that's
The
something
plant
to
tour
see.
is
I thought
fabulous.
that was the cleanest car plant. I've never been in a whole lot of
Sure,
them.
sure.
But since my family did work there, you can kind of see in.
Yeah, yeah.
It was clean. You could almost eat off the floor in the Corvette.
Pride
plant.
of the people
That
working there.
pride.
You can feel it.
You can
feel
feel
it in your
the
heart
pride.
that they put their
Feel the
heart
pride.
in every vehicle
There was
You
a
can see it.
malfunction in the plant at that time. The whole plant, the whole line shut down. It bump, bump, bump. All the managers ran over. Everything stopped.
Wow.
It was amazing to see that.
Yeah.
For me, the pride in building a Corvette.
Kind of gives me goosebumps.
It does. It does.
And you have to
It
go
does.
there to see the plant. I mean, they just redid it with a new paint shop and the AGVs. I've been there since then, 2 or 3 years, because they shut down visits. But it's an incredible plant. You have to make reservations.
Yeah, you have to
You
make
can't just show up.
reservations to walk through.
We had a reservation, but we got lucky. We came to Carlisle
Oh, yeah.
and we met a young lady,
One of our-
and she invited her. She's the president of the union, and she invited us down for a VIP tour. So we made reservations with her, but we had another friend. Her friend lives in Nashville. We had to make a reservation for her. Some people showed up and didn't have reservations. They would let them in. So if you go there, make reservations because they get so many people there.
That makes sense.
You have to make reservations to go. So we had a great tour. The plant was great. The cars were great. They were cool looking. It was just a cool
people
tour.
pick up their Corvettes.
And then,
my
gosh.
Taking
that was
a delivery.
unbelievable.
Taking a delivery.
I thought it was one or two.
Yeah.
It's just cars lined up. It's all day long.
Well, they do that over at the Bowling Green at the museum itself too.
Yeah, at the museum.
Yeah, that's what they
I'm
park
talking
at. That's what they
I'm sorry, I thought you meant over at the plant too.
Yeah.
But you can actually go in there and you could build your own
Own
car
motor.
Oh, yeah.
on your own motor.
Oh, they built a new place. We haven't seen it yet, but the guy who's the plant manager is an engine buff. And the first thing he did, built a new paint shop. He built a new engine place. It was kind of really cool, like an office where you go build your engine, they coffee, they feed you and everything. But he built a brand new one. I haven't seen it yet. To build the engine. He's an engine guy, the new plant manager. He came from Powertrain in Michigan. That was his background.
Can you imagine what it'd be like to build the power plant in your own car?
You put your name on it, and sign it, put it in your car. That's the ultimate, right?
Yeah,
And then they tell you when it's been built. You
What
can go
about
see it.
that one that when they had that
Sinkhole.
the sinkhole?
Yeah.
We saw that.
Yeah.
Isn't that phenomenal?
And
You can
they-
look down into that.
Yeah. Well, what's that one that the lady they didn't know that they had signed the
Oh yeah, one of the
What was
cars
it?
that they restored. I forgot
They
what
pulled
year.
it
The
out.
million Corvette. They
Yeah.
pulled it out. And GM
but the
Chevrolet
managers
restored.
didn't know that
All
the
employees had signed
employees
behind the
had
panels.
signed it.
They didn't know until they took it apart. And there was one part they couldn't repair. Chevrolet had to make a new part, and they found the woman who retired, who worked at the plant, had to come back and re-sign it to make it like it was before. But all the panels behind it are
everything
signed
was
by the
signed.
employees. It was
The
like
provenance of that.
I think it was a 1 millionth Corvette or something.
Right.
And Chevrolet restored that car. And there's one panel they couldn't fix. They had to make a new one, and they found the lady and had
To
her come
refabricate
in
it.
and to sign it.
That's
So all those panels behind that car are signed.
just like it was.
Yeah, just like it was when it was first made.
Like that's
And they, I
amazing.
don't think they even knew it till they tore it apart.
Yeah.
That the employees had signed their names on the back of the panels. before they put
shows
it
you the
together.
pride back then even.
That was
Real
back then.
pride,
It's pride. It's pride in that plant. I mean, you go there, and after you go there and see the plant, hey, I will buy a Corvette. Because they love what they do. They like tours every day. And famous tour. We were there. What's the guy? Brad Paisley was there the day before we were there.
Okay.
He bought 2 Corvettes and built a motor. Michael Jordan, he got his picture.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
been there.
he's been there.
And I said, where's Michael Jordan there? So we leave the plant. We're leaving, going back to that. Guess what? What does he advertise? Haynes. The Haynes headquarters is right down the street from the Corvette plant. So he's in Bowling Green all the time.
Doing business.
Doing business.
Uh-huh.
So he's in Bowling Green. And if you ever go to Bowling Green, stay at the Hilton Garden.
Okay.
That's where all the Corvette gurus, engineers stay, and that's where the Corvette people go in the museum.
All right.
We stay there. It's
Okay.
in Bowling Green.
Very
so
good to know.
there's tons of Corvettes in the parking lot.
There's your pro tip, everybody.
That's it.
Oh my gosh. Al, Willie, thank you
Hey,
so
thank you.
very
We'll
much.
be in
so
touch.
much. Enjoy.
All right, so let's also now talk about that autocross, and we'll put a little bit of sound candy in here. This is that big block. How about it, Scott, that you captured?
I think it was the only big block in the entire competition over there at the autocross, but you could definitely tell.
Oh, I could hear it from where I was. It was big and hairy.
Yeah, some of the other ones you couldn't even hear them; they just sounded like a little like poofy air car. But this one was perfect. It was
All right, let's go do that. And we all know that barn finds are so rare and so significant. It was great to meet a gentleman by the name of Rick from Clark Summit. He had his 67 mid-year, just amazing. He had it still natural patina. He really, other than replacing when he needed to in order to drive it, it is just as it was. So he had signboards out in front of the vehicle, and we started talking about about his car and the story behind it. So I just went up and started struck up a conversation, and here's that discussion with Rick about his mid-year barn find. Cubers, I am here sitting behind a 1967 barn find. This Vette is beautiful and owned by Rick Goditis. Rick, thank you for talking to me a little bit about this car.
You're welcome.
So this is one of those that you were just saying that you guys rolled it out of the barn, had paw prints on it, dust probably as thick as the day is long.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that day.
So we got a friend that called and said that was interested in selling this car. We didn't know too much about it, so we went over and rolled it out of the barn to take a look at it for the first time, and there were cat prints all over it, and dust and mold growing on the seats, and mouse house material everywhere you looked in the car. And but we rolled it out, and we checked the oil. It still had gas in the tank. The tank didn't have any rust in it, and we said, well, we're gonna try starting it. So we had a battery with us. We dropped the battery in it, poured a little gas in the carb, and fired it up. Wow. Smoked a little bit. The clutch was stuck, so we unstuck the clutch, and I actually made the deal with the guy and drove it home, about 5 miles from where it was in the barn to my house.
That's incredible. Now, plans just to continue to keep it as it is? I mean,
yes.
That's the important part of
Yep.
it. So it's national patina.
We drive the car, I'll pull in a parking lot. I don't have to worry about a door ding or anything else with this car.
Yeah.
But the car gets a tremendous amount of attention the way it is. People love the story. The whole story, with the brothers owning the car.
Yeah, for those that won't.
Okay,
so
in
the placard, but.
in about 1971, Gary Martinson bought the car and had it for a few years, and then he wanted a big block Corvette, so he bought a big block and sold this car to his brother Dean. Mm-hmm. So his brother Dean had the car, probably around 1983. Put the car in the barn at his mom's house. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in sometime in the mid-'80s, Dean was killed in a motorcycle accident. And so his daughter, who lives in Utah, decided that she wanted to keep the car. So from 86, when Dean was killed, to 2009, she wanted to keep the car. Mm-hmm. And in 2009, she calls Uncle Gary and says, Uncle Gary, I want you to buy the Corvette off me. And Gary says, I got a C5 Corvette. I don't want any more old Corvettes.
Right.
So he says, but I'll sell the car for you. So he contacted a friend, and the friend came to, who actually works with us, and myself and Kevin went to look at the car because Kevin was looking for a resto rod candidate. Mm-hmm. And he said the car was too rough for him. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I'll buy the car. So that's basically how the story went, and how we ended up getting the car.
That's a great backstory.
But the car needed, we drove it home, but one caliper was leaking really bad, and the radiator started to weep. So I have the original radiator, I still have the original caliper, but I did put a caliper on it, and I put a radiator in it.
For drivability. And
Right. But, I just maintained the car to keep it running, try to keep it as original as the day we pulled it out.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm definitely going to take pictures so that my fans and cubers can see exactly what we're talking about. But
all right, great.
I am so glad that you preserved it and you guys found it, and the rest of us can enjoy it now.
Thank you.
So thank you, Rick.
Okay, cubers, we are back to Studio B tonight, and with that, let's give you that answer, a multi-part answer. This is, I know, a bit open-ended, but I think interesting. 2 features, and this is something that, Scott, how about it? We learned when we went to the media unveilings Friday morning, 7 a.m.
Absolutely. And of course it appealed to me because I always like a little play on words.
Well, yes, true. And the chief engineer for the new Corvette design, Taj Yukter, he spoke extemporaneously about everything with the vehicle, answered questions that journalists and others had about it.
But it made it so interesting. He was so relatable, really just, presented
very
everything
down
so
to earth.
well.
In fact, there were, I believe, 2 Germans in the row ahead of us that asked when they can expect it in Europe, and they said the announcement of the dates for release next year may be here shortly. But what I thought was interesting, how about it, is they talked about right-hand drive configuration.
Oh yeah, they're going to have that
for the UK
one.
market, Australia, and Japan. Mm-hmm. So that's, again, hats off to Chevrolet for making this truly a world vehicle.
And available at dealerships first quarter of 2020.
Correct. That's a key point. So if you haven't had a chance to see it, it'll be early next year. So, what's a physical feature? This is a word that Scott liked a lot. They had, well, there's two that come to mind. They now have a standard squircle, so the square-ish circle steering wheel. But unique for the first time of any Corvette, it has a frunk. So it's a front-ended trunk.
What the frunk? Oh, sorry. I mean, it's got a frunk. It's got the frunk. Yeah. Could do a little jingle for it.
So the rear trunk is big enough maybe for an overnight bag, and then the removable glass target top.
Is it front wheel drive? I'm done. Finished. That was my third. I'm out.
The frunk will probably hold, I don't know, maybe a carry-on and a half or carry-on and two. So it's
a frack pack or a fruit case.
But yeah, so that's the physical feature being a frunk, and the new electronic feature. Tad should explain that it has a fully digital dash. You have an activation button where you can raise the front end by 2 inches. So if you're
the lift of the front bumper area.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So if you're approaching your driveway or a speed bump or a lipped area, what have you, you can raise the front of the 2020 Corvette. The C8 will then protect the splitter and the undercarriage as it goes up and over. Also, there's a feature that will put a geo-placed, essentially like a bookmark. It will then code that particular GPS setting so that if you're coming home to your own driveway and you have to do it each time, you drop the geo code. It will then remember that point, and then the car, depending on the speed that you're approaching said point, will automatically begin to raise the front end to time it so that when you reach the speed bump or whatever it is, let's say you hit a speed bump on your daily commute or you go into a visitor's development, you always have to do it. If you set that point, it will know to do it automatically and the car will adjust for you. So that, I think, was a significant electronic feature that you will find for the first time in the 8th generation. Right. How about it? So you want to talk about that? Like the rear camera on this is unique. It's basically weatherproof.
It's weatherproof and it's higher. It's up at the rear window, so it's always up. It always stays clean. Yep. It is. It's
not in the rear turbulence and along the trunk lid there normally, and
right. I
think it was a 60 frames per second, so right. Super high definition,
and it always stays clean.
Yeah,
so perfect.
So they actually created almost like a Venturi tunnel around it, so that water, rain, everything just swipes right off of it.
Yeah, I see that kind of coming along and happening in a lot of other vehicles now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
great feature.
We learned that firsthand from the chief engineer. Pretty cool opportunity, and we were blessed and glad for that. So, Scott, anything else to add before we put this one in park?
I think I'm finished. Finished. I think that's a frap.
All right. Well, for now, I'll say drive well,
be well,
take care.